Greetings, traveler. I am Sir Nox, the teller of tales. Would you like to hear one? Well, before we get started, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, and leaving a comment below, as all of those things help the YouTube algorithm, and we are a small channel still trying to grow, and that helps immensely, so thank you very much. It's much appreciated. This one is called Double Feature, playing one-shots with people online, and I have seen things. Over the course of last year, I played a lot of one-shots with random people on Roll20, as I had more free time. Some went well, some didn't, and I've got some stories to share. They're short enough that I thought I'd bunch them together to save time. Edit. Quick edit, just to clarify that I'm not condemning all online groups or quick start one-shots. For every unpleasant experience, I can bring up another positive or neutral one. Don't take this as a reason to not try out one-shots with random people at least once in a while. You get to meet a lot of people. Some will be crap, but others will be great. Give almost everyone a chance and know when to walk away. TW for creeper behavior, sexual harassment, casual racism, absurd behavior, and one rule for me, one rule for thee syndrome. Story the first, in which the bard gets touched. I, a female, joined a group with my male tiefling lore bard for a two-shot adventure that had a fun premise. There was a half-elf ranger, a female, a half-elf rogue, a male, a halfling cleric, a female, and a half-orc barbarian, a female. Lots of halves, I know, it was pretty funny. Of note is that by chance I was the only player playing a character of opposite gender. We were good until the ranger, played by another girl, started pretty heavy-handedly hitting on my bard. Now, my bard was okay with it at first, but as the adventure progressed, the ranger's behavior put him off more and more, and me out of character. She was consistently rude to NPCs that he was not trying to get information out of, trying to pick unnecessary fights when I was trying to avoid them, extremely hostile to NPCs who seemed to like him. She killed his micro-griffin familiar for laughs once and half tried apologizing for it and being a try-hard edgelord. I will say that the GM was pretty good about handling this, handing out consequences for this behavior that our party unfortunately had to deal with. At some point, the cleric threatened the ranger with no healing if she screwed us over. The worst happened while we were resting in an inn on the road between a town and a fortress we had a protected delivery for. By that point, my bard's opinion of the ranger had soured considerably, and he no longer responded to her overtures except to firmly tell her that she brought that on herself. I played my bard as a savvy and cheeky but generally chill and wholesome dude who might be attracted to anybody as long as they're basically decent people. He straight up told her that her behavior really put him off. The player got extremely salty. She said, and I quote, "That's BS, he's a bard, he's supposed to always be turned on," which made me and the cleric very uncomfortable. She got pushy about it even though the GM wanted to move along, and then she declared her character put her hand down my bard's pants. The GM tried to shut her down, but she insisted it was going to be funny, and unfortunately, the barbarian and the rogue thought so too. The ranger, without prompt from the GM, was furiously messaging me with apologies or trying to shut things down. Rolled a strength check to subdue my bard and rolled really well. My poor 8 strength bard had no chance of beating that, and she tried to launch into what she would do to my character, until the GM informed me that this constituted an attack. So, being a tiefling with the flame of Phlegethos feet, I hellish rebuked. She started to instantly screech about how I was ruining it for her, and the GM muted her, apologizing profusely to me. Unfortunately, this halted the two-shot after a single session, as the ranger sent me a bunch of abusive messages on Discord before I blocked her. The cleric said this put him off one-shots, and the rogue and barbarian just kind of ghosted the group. Story the second. Things I've learned while playing a female tabaxi monk. Good lord, I seem to run into all the weirdos whenever I decide to play Juju. She is my most light-hearted character, an affectionate homage to classic kung fu movies and anime memes, hence her moniker Weebcat. She's a short, little skinny tabaxi based on the Somali breed of housecat, drunken master built for speed. For context, I play Juju with a funny accent. I employ liberal Greeklish and a very small and specific set of feline traits. She likes to nap in the sun, she likes climbing to tall places, she gets distracted by quickly moving objects and creatures, or dancing lights, lasers and dots. She's fastidiously clean, and sometimes hisses when she's angry or scared, and purrs when she's pleased. She likes to eat all the carbs and drinks like a fish. But man, over the course of several one-shots, she has seen things. First, there was that guy who got upset that I described Juju as a feline in appearance and not as an anime-style cat girl. He got further upset when I clarified that Juju was practically no boobages because she's just that lean and binds up well. The bounce is no joke, even for small ones. And I don't mean that he was just salty. He complained for 15 minutes straight about it while the GM was making some changes to a combat encounter due to spontaneous decision of the party. Even the GM told him to can it. He didn't kick the guy because I think they were friends in real life, and one of the players snapped at him. Second, there was this other that guy who wanted to play a homebrew kitsune sorcerer in an Asian setting game. As an aside, for all his other faults, the GM put a lot of work into this setting. I give him kudos for that, and decided to be as creepy as possible about it. He described her as a painfully stereotypical anime waifu with a tiny waist and a huge bosom and an overly elaborate dress, and flip-flop between putting down my tabaxi for not being cuter and flirting with her, which, given that Juju's kind of dense, went right over her head. I was getting more and more uncomfortable with how explicit his descriptions about how his character acted were. He described her spellcasting as, well, orgasmic. Ew. She poured cream in a bowl and offered it to Juju by putting it on the floor and going, pss, 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 here kitty, which actually upset Juju because I'd already stated that she finds that kind of thing super offensive. He was extremely salty when Juju snapped at his character and started avoiding her entirely. The GM let all the weird crap go on because I guess that was funny to him. Did not play with this group again after that session. Third, there was that girl who insisted I was not playing Juju properly because Tabaxi acted way more cat-like than I was playing Juju and kept trying to correct me. Her paladin was also dead convinced that Juju was a liar and a thief because all Tabaxi are liars and thieves. Incidentally, the drow rogue always quipped, "Am I dead to you?" at those comments, which I found funny. She also hated the accent I was using for Juju, even though the GM and all the other players were fine and even amused by it. I actually ran it past them all before we started, and she said she was okay then. But midway through the session, she just started to go off about it, saying she wanted to play D&D. Not listen to some stupid Middle Eastern immigrant talking funny. Yikes. I speak English with a Canadianish accent. Juju's accent is pure theater. The GM got pretty upset at her for that and told her to apologize so we could move on, and told her that if she repeated that kind of stunt, she was out. She refused to apologize, saying it was her right to say because the freedom of speech, and when I informed her that I was in fact Greek living in Greece, she just said, same difference, as an aside. Please don't say that to any Greek, it's actually offensive. Fortunately, the GM kicked her then and there. Fourth and last, and yet another game, well, I was forced to duel another player even though I had stated multiple times I was not comfortable with PvP, and the GM had said, if anything makes you uncomfortable, let me know. But when I said I wasn't okay with PvP, the GM overruled it, saying, it'll be fun! The challenger? The half-orc barbarian. The cause? He insisted that my tradition of his clan, a man who dueled and beat a woman, got to claim said woman for his wife. And the GM rolled with it. He said it was interesting. The other players agreed. I said nope and just quit that game faster than Juju's top running speed. So there we go. Sorry if this was huge, but these have been piling for a while and I wanted to get them off my chest. Well, that concludes that tale. Thank you for sharing. It's quite interesting, actually. I mean, this is what happens when you play online. I think it's different in person because people seem to be less confrontational and crazy and willing to do things out of the ordinary, but the internet gives this weird anonymity mask that makes people kind of go to these weird places of human nature that aren't always appealing. But it seems that you're able to stand your ground, and I think everyone should know how to do that as well. That is quite pleasing to hear, actually, that you weren't just taken advantage of and felt like a victim. So thank you for standing up for yourself. Well, that concludes our tales for today. If you'd like to hear another, come back and I shall tell you one. If you'd like to hear another right now, perhaps watch another video. There's a few off to the side.